Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Shad and I'm back with obviously another video today. Man, Denver is going to single-handedly get me to 1,000 subscribers because they keep doing moves and I keep having to talk about them because they keep on being good moves, and this one is no different because they traded Monte Morris and Will Barton for KCP and Ish Smith. And I'm going to tell you why that's a good thing in a second. But before we get into all of that, there are a lot of new subscribers here. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on that Christian Braun video, which a lot of you have come from. We will continue with the Denver Nuggets content and many other NBA pieces of content throughout the offseason. So subscribe, like the video, tell your friends, we're flooding the streets. If you're looking at this trade from a glance, at just a pure namesake alone, it looks like a pretty lopsided trade. You have a really good backup point guard who is really a starting caliber point guard in Monte Morris, and a solid bench scorer in Will Barton being traded for presumably just KCP because Ish Smith is pretty much at the end of his career when it comes to playing. It looks like a 2-for-1 that the Nuggets lost out on. But the problem with NBA Twitter is that they don't understand what context is, right? And a lot of other Nuggets fans have come under that as well and not realizing what this does for the roster construction. So going into next year, let's say they don't do this trade. Going into next year, we have Jamal Murray, Bones Hyland, and Monte Morris, with Bones and Monte coming off the bench. Is that really the defensive backcourt that you want going up against a stacked Western Conference team? It's not. Getting KCP fills two holes. One of the holes that they traded away, which was really good three-point shooting, which I will admit, obviously Monte Morris being a 40% three-point shooter, you would absolutely love him on the team, and Will Barton as well was a solid shooter. KCP comes in shooting 39% from three. One of the holes filled up, but then he also adds better perimeter defense than those two players combined that we gave away. And what has been a talking point that I, along with several other people in Nuggets fandom, what have we been talking about? Defense. We need defensive wings. We get KCP, one of the more proven perimeter defenders in the league. That is a value add. That is a good addition to this team, no matter who we trade away, obviously, there's a limit. But when it comes to Monte Morris, who Nuggets fans love, and trust me, I love Monte. I mean, he was getting the starting minutes and he was excelling in his role, which is why it was kind of a good thing to use him in a trade like this, right? Enough about that. You know the trade package. Let's talk about the repercussions, I guess you could say, against this roster now. So it's very clear now, hopefully to all Nuggets fans, what direction this team is going in, right? There are a couple of different avenues that they have decided to firmly plant themselves in. So one of them is Bones Hyland's development. This trade to get Monte off of the team was in part due to the fact that Bones Hyland is excelling all the expectations that I think people had of him last season. If you looked at the month of March, he had a phenomenal month. I think he averaged 14 points, like 4 rebounds and 4 assists and like a couple of rebounds, right? But he was having huge success in an increased role. And that came because Jamal Murray was out, obviously, for the entire season, and Monte Morris was splitting those minutes with Bones. So he naturally became the sixth man. He naturally became the backup point guard, and he did his thing. This year with Jamal Murray back, Monte would have been taking those backup point guard minutes from Bones. And why would you take away the minutes from a young player who is proving that he has a higher ceiling than the player you're making him share reps with? Why would you hold that back? Why would you hold that potential back just to have the namesake of a Monte Morris, right? Even though those two together don't fit. Get rid of Monte, you give Bones developmental minutes. He knows how to run a pick and roll with a backup center, which is another point that we will talk about in a second. He's a good playmaker off the bench. If they decide not to waive Ish Smith, I'm sure he won't be getting that many minutes, so maybe having him as a mentor will be good for him. Another direction that they have planted themselves in is the fact that they are focusing now on defense. We have been harassing them for defense for so long, and this is not a point that I need to harp on. We all know what the defense situation was like last year and years prior. They're clearing up those mistakes right now. They are going in that direction because it is championship or bust now. KCP's contract is expiring. Having an expiring contract is always good, especially against an asset that is going to be able to provide for you in the year that he is there. They duck under the luxury tax, which we all know These boys is cheap, which scares me for my next points in the fact that they have a $9.1 million trade exception that they can use now because of this last trade. And they also have a $6.4 million MLE. So this move, this trade right here was a building block trade. And I think I want to get this point out specifically to other Nuggets fans and NBA fans in general, honestly. Not every single move that your team makes is going to be the swing, right? It's not going to be the move that puts them over top. The Nuggets were in a boat where they went to the Western Conference Finals when they had a really well-constructed team, and since then, they just haven't been able to get back to that. They're trying to get back to that now. The $6.4 million mid-level exception is an interesting point because there are a couple of options that may be available to the Nuggets in terms of roster construction because there are still some holes that need to be fixed. And with these two options, we might be able to see the return of Gary Harris, which would be huge because in his time with the Nuggets, he was really good in his role. He's coming off of that $20 million a year contract that he was making last year, and he's an unrestricted free agent. So if he comes in, takes an MLE, comes back to a team that will have a spot for him, because I'm looking at this mock depth chart that I made right now, and he would fit into the backup shooting guard, backup small forward role right next to Christian Braun. As of right now, there are just a couple of names that potentially can come to the Nuggets through different avenues. And there was a little bit of a desire for a Victor Oladipo type move. If he wanted to have another year where he can prove his worth and try to get another longer term contract, he could come here, be an impact player on a team that could probably make a deep run in the playoffs. There is still ways for the Nuggets to make a big swing, right? So while a lot of fans and while a lot of outside the Nuggets organization NBA fans have been pointing out, like, this is a steal for the Wizards, or what are the Nuggets doing? This is a horrible trade. No, there's a financial aspect to it. There's a wiggle room aspect to it. This year, not wiggle room that we have to wait another year to come into play with. This is right now. There's still a whole summer of offseason moves that can be made. This was a really good one. Who knows, man? Who knows? They're setting themselves up to be in a position where they can make a big splash. And I really love that. And that is all I really have for today. I don't want this video to go on too long because this wasn't really like the biggest impact trade, but it was a really good trade for the Nuggets nonetheless. So thank you very much for watching all the way through. Peace out. Have a great day. Bye.